quite a few. Well, welcome. So we are officially the Southern Cayuga Lake Intermunicipal Water Commission. We also go by Bolton Point Water. It's a lot easier. Originally, that's when it was just a small system. That was what we were called. The land that the facility's on and our raw water pump station was owned by the Bolton family. That's where Bolton Point comes from. They also started the salt mine. So that's kind of tells you the area that they owned. We were started in 1974 was when we were formed. We started pumping water in 76. So next year is our 50th anniversary. So been really happy with that. Forward to doing a little celebration next year. So we're working on the planning for that. I think this presentation I put together for Local Water Matters Day. We did on the 16th of this month. Basically, we wanted to bring in local officials from the area, talk about water issues, what we're doing here at Bolton Point, and working with our partners across the state. So that's going to be most of the slides here. We look forward to any questions you have. And we also want to thank you for all you do to protect our source water. Your efforts are not unnoticed. You guys do a great job for us. We would love to have Roxy's watershed, nice, compact. See, that's a compliment for me to the town.
Better. What'd you say there? Okay, we do have more so.
But the Ithaca area is rather unique with 3 water systems. We love to kid each other. We work incredibly closely together. We do quarterly meetings. We stagger projects to make sure that we can back each other up. So it is great to have you guys, even though we give you a hard time. So I'm going to jump right into the program here. Tell you a little bit about Bolton Point. You're going to hear a lot about New York section of the American Water Works Association. I'm on their board of directors in my 2nd year there. It's been an amazing organization to get involved with and work with other water systems all across New York State. From New York City DEP to basically us, we're pretty much the smallest system represented with them. We got a call earlier this year from the New York City DEP asking us about hydrilla and what was going on in Cayuga Lake. We directed them back to you guys and what you were doing and how you were working with the community. There was a concern with one community member about PFAS being in the Florida Dome. New York City DEP looked at your responses, and that's kind of what they were kind of looking at. So it seemed like a unique problem here in Cayuga Lake. You guys were able to give DEP a direction to start. So that's the kind of work that we do back and forth within water systems. So quick QR code for those of you that are tech savvy. I do have paper copies up here. Any information you want, this will give you all of everything that's on the table. One of the documents here that we had for our Local Water Matters Day was just to kind of talk about the importance of water. So it's not only just for drinking, but especially in this area, recreation and tourism, economic development, and is looking at what's going on up in the Syracuse area as far as economic development because of clean, safe water and a reliable source. We also have to worry about fire protection and public safety. So in our system, we have around 350 miles of pipe, basically stretching from the old power plant all the way around the lake to the town of Ulysses. So we have a lot of pipe. We bypass around the city of Ithaca and Cornell. We do have interconnects to be able to supply water to each other. So that's always nice in an emergency. With that system, we have 25 water storage tanks. So pretty unique for a system our size to have that. Normally you're going to have, 3 for a system that size. So 25 is a lot of infrastructure. They range in size from 150,000 gallons to 3 million gallons. It's our largest storage tank. At any given time, we have almost 14 million gallons of storage out in the system. So we can move water around. We have plenty of water for fire protection, depending on which area and the size of the tank. But all of that water kind of shuttles around the system. We always have to pull the water out of the lake and pump it up the hills. We reduce the pressure as it goes back down the hills. And then sometimes we have to pump it back up the hills. So we do have to use quite a bit of energy just because of the topography here in the area. But we try to be as efficient as we can to make sure that if a water storage tank is owned by one member municipality, we can supply water to any municipality. It's not, the boundaries don't really matter. We operate this as one water system. So if we can get water to a customer with higher pressure, or we can pump it one less time by taking water from a town of Lansing tank and giving that to a customer in village of Lansing, we'll do that. So that's kind of how things work there. Schools and education, Ithaca College is one of our biggest customers. So that's an important aspect for us. We try to be good environmental stewards. We know how important the lake is, not just for water, but for everything else here. So we try to be as involved with organizations like this as much as we can. And then education and engagement. This is something we've really started in the last year or two. We've gotten out to a lot of schools. We've got a really good program that we're working with New York State AWWA, their One Water Workforce Program. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but that's been really encouraging for us as we get out and talk about the importance of water. Whoops. That's our crew. They're always out and about, from public outreach, working in our lab, trying to make sure that all of our tanks are full, fixing water main breaks. We use a lot of technology here in the last 10 years or so. The guys in the center there, they're actually correlating leaks. So we listen for noise for any leaks in the system. Then we can go out with other software and kind of pinpoint where those leaks are and then know where to dig. So we're not tearing up large sections of roads and chasing those breaks. A lot of times the leaks don't surface, and we just notice the increase in production at our tanks so that we can go out and find those leaks. And that's the equipment they're doing there. The picture on the bottom right, there are actually water competitions. So there's water meter competition where you have to put a meter in a bucket and dump it, in a hydrant where you actually have to assemble it. We've 5 years state champs for the meter, and we've actually won the hydrant competition once and finished second about 3 times. So with that, why it's important to us, one, for team building with our staff. It's a great way to end the day and kind of bring everybody together. Number 2, the winning team actually gets a free trip to the National AWWA conference. So our staff in California, Texas, Toronto, all over the country, at no cost to the commission. And it's been a great program for us here. So if you want to join the team, let me know. We can find a spot for you. This slide just talks about our staff here and the treatment process. How important it is for the water. It's not just the daily testing that we're doing here, but we're also doing testing as required by DOH and EPA to make sure that we're ready for whatever's coming next. Glenn, I don't know, I can introduce Glenn Radicek's our production manager here in the back row. Anything you want to add on?
Besides the required testing and that, we do a lot with monitoring for HABs all year, which has been crazy this year. And just a lot with anything we do about with source water. We like to support you guys, and we're doing talks on the boat and just trying to get the word out there about protecting the watershed, because it affects everybody. It's everything. And, it really it's important work. So like Steve said, we really appreciate what you guys do. If you guys do your job real well, my job is real easy. So there's the personal interest in it too. But yeah, it's just great to see so many people around here interested in water. I come from Buffalo. A lot of people that were all interested in the water, not much at all, protecting it at all. So it's really nice to be somewhere where there's a lot of like-minded people. I think water is important, which it really is.
Great. Yeah. So for source water protection, we did complete our drinking source water protection plan. We submitted that to the state almost a year ago. And ours goes through DEC for approval. We're expecting that any day. Either it's been in that October-ish range, and they haven't really moved it too far. So hopefully we'll hear back. Source water protection for us is interesting. So we exist through the 5-member municipalities: the town of Ithaca, town of Dryden, town of Lansing, village of Cuga Heights, and village of Lansing. So they all own their infrastructure. They all have their own public water ID numbers, as do we. That can get a little clunky at times in reporting, as Glenn's found out a few times. Lead service lines. We got kicked back our lead program from EPA and DOH because we said we had 0 services. Well, we do. Our municipalities have services. We don't. We only have 5 customers. This is the way we see it. So that those kind of things can get a little cumbersome. With the source water protection and the source water protection plan, we've developed it so our member municipalities and the commission itself can actually use the plan. So if the town of Ithaca would like to do projects and they want to do funding for a project under the source water protection plan, it lays all that out. If our commission decides that they would like us to actually do those projects, they would have to put the funding into our budget because the municipalities do that. So we wanted to set it up both ways so that it would work for either side. Hopefully that's going to work, and hopefully we'll be able to do some projects in the area. So as far as the layout, we intentionally we didn't copy Roxy's. We wanted to make it the same format so that if someone was using the city's source water protection plan, they would look for the same information in our source water protection plan, like in the same areas. So chapter 2, you would go there for that information. So it's going to be laid out similar, and you should be able to use ours the same way that you use yours. So that was done by design. We used Barton and LaJudas, as did you, to make sure that we had similar information. Just we really didn't want to create a difficult network for anybody that was trying to use it. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on that and where that goes. We're obviously watching the Owasco Lake challenges, as is just about every source water system across the state, to see where that goes. So for those of you working with that, we're thankful for that too. So not sure how depending where that goes, how that'll work for us. This is definitely going to be a challenge on this watershed, especially as us as the water purveyor, and there's only 20 of us that are trying to keep water flowing every day. That would definitely be a challenge for us to kind of pull off something similar, but we'll see where that goes in the future. Legislative priorities. So we do work with New York State Rural Water Association, CWIO, which is going to be our wastewater partners. And then, of course, New York AWWA. These are the kind of things we go to Albany once a year and talk with local representatives. We also try to bring them in-house here as much as we can. On the 16th, Assemblymember Kellis and Senator Webb were both here for over an hour. So it was great to have them here to meet with people from the community and ask questions specific to water and wastewater. Lead service lines are going to be talked about for quite a while. The Clean Water Infrastructure Act is always there. That's going to depend on funding and either state or federal. Right now, that's definitely going to be a challenge. The Safe Water Infrastructure Action Plan, that's a SWAP program. For any of you with municipalities or any past municipal experience, if you're familiar with the CHIPS program for local roads, that's kind of how roads are paved and maintained. Basically, this would set up a similar program for water and wastewater. So it's not looking to fund $20 million projects for a municipality. What it's looking to do is give money every year to every water system in New York State. So whether you're the big system or the little system, it's going to be, there'd be a formula to kind of based off number of services or miles of pipe to try to figure out how much money you would get. But if you're a small municipality struggling to replace fire hydrants or come up with a valve maintenance plan, or you had a small pump that you needed to upgrade, that would be something that you could use this for. But it would also give you an annual budget specifically for water and wastewater projects. Everybody agrees this is a great idea. Funding is always the issue. So where does the money come from? That's something we're working with Assemblymember Kellis and Senator Webb on. Assemblymember Kellis sponsored the bill last year. We're talking with her again this year to try to get that across the finish line. I don't think this is going to be the year for it, just based on funding. But we're not. We'll keep it there. I think it's a really important project. Source water protection, and the other one is kind of covered up a little bit. That's going to be workforce. We'll talk about source water protection. The workforce is coming up. These are some of the items we talked about at our local Water Matters Day. We wanted to make sure we stayed kind of on topic for water and wastewater while we had the representatives here. The Drinking Water Protection Act. There's also a Data Act along with that. Senator May, actually, that's going to be close to your watershed rules and regulations, that Drinking Water Protection Act. It's not mandatory, but it does allow water systems the ability to create watershed rules and regulations. So that's probably one you guys are all going to be interested in. I've met through AWWA with Senator May and her chief of staff, Eric, I can't remember his last name, sorry. But we did discuss that. Vandervoort. Yes, thank you. So we talked, there were three of us representing water systems on the call. We did kind of, this would work, this wouldn't work. The nice thing is we've got a really good working rapport with a lot of members in the state legislature, to where we can just have an open conversation and say, this is a great idea. These are the challenges it creates for a water system, just to kind of get that side of it. We want to be really careful as water purveyors when we have items that we're not 100% fully supportive of. We want to make sure we're not saying we're okay with people being poisoned in the water. We just want to make sure people understand both sides and the challenges that come with that. So these topics here went well. Biosolids, timely. You talked about those earlier today. So of course, Assemblymember Kellis, that's a big item for her. And PFAS, banning that in household items, I think everybody's on board for that. So I would expect to see that one go through soon. So this is part of the SWAP program I talked about. There are about 9,000 public water systems in the state. The rankings you can see there were C's and D's in our water system, and the amount of money that's needed to bring everything up to par. There's nowhere near that much funding in the state for water and wastewater. So it's going to continue to be harder and harder to make those updates. Good. Yeah. Lead pipes faster legislation. This is one of those items that, when the lead pipes faster or the lead service line inventories went out, we had to go out and identify all the lead service lines in our system. If we didn't have documentation, we had to excavate those. We got that done. When it says support or oppose, it's not exactly saying we don't like the Lead Pipe Replacement Act the way it's written. It's the criteria that was written into the bill and the costs associated with it. So originally, lead pipes, the gooseneck or that connection right off of the water main is usually, some of the older service lines are going to have a 2 to 3 foot piece of lead. It's a flexible kind of bend into the pipe for the freeze thaw cycle. Originally, that was exempted from the lead service line inventories. When that got added, it added in about $24 billion in replacement costs for service lines just in New York State. So when we looked at that as water purveyors, we were like, we know we have large sections. We would like the focus to stay on that. And then once we had those corrected, go back and say, let's look at those goosenecks. Because if we're taking the funding to fix small sections, and that's what our focus is, and we're leaving large sections that could be a much bigger problem, those are the kind of items that we looked at as water systems. Additionally, in that bill, the use of HDPE, PVC, or plastic pipe was not allowed for replacing service laterals. A lot of the systems in New York State that have already done this have gone with plastic pipe or PVC. So does that all have to come out if this bill passed? most new houses are gonna have PEX or plastic PVC piping. What does it say if we have a bill that says that you can't use it on a service line, but it's fine inside your house? These are the kind of things that we were just looking at and saying is public looks back to the water systems to say, is my water safe? These are kind of the questions that we were kind of fighting internally with on how do we answer these. And the last note there was with the lead service lines, they wanted record keeping to track how the lead was disposed of. That we were actually 100% in favor with. We were like, that needs to, don't just leave it in the ground. The point is get it out of the system, get it out of the ground, and then dispose of it properly. So these are the kind of things when we say support or oppose, that's the kind of the discussions that we have. PFAS is always going to be a challenge for us moving forward. Small systems, from the data we're getting, shows that they're going to be hit hardest, no matter which limit level you're looking at, whether it's the 4 parts per trillion or the 10. And like we said, if we were to put a system in here tomorrow for like a granular activated carbon system, we're not going to look to get it to a level of 4 or 10. We're going to look for total removal. So we're going to want to be able to detect. So that's kind of that 4 to 10 parts per trillion. Is whether that moves, it won't have a big impact on water systems. It's just a matter of making sure that whatever technology we invest in, we make sure that it's going to remove whatever we need in the future. We completed a study about 2 months ago with Barton and LaJudas engineers, looking at how we could add granular activated carbon system here. We're kind of locked in between these two streams and that cliff before the lake. We don't have a lot of room. We haven't grown since we went online in the 70s. We just didn't have a lot of room to begin with. We looked at, if we have to pump water here through a upright vessel for that filtering system, that's more energy we're going to use. As we go through our plant, and you'll see in a little bit, it flows with gravity. So we wanted to try to keep that filtration gravity fed. By doing that, we would actually have to build an entire new clear well. The distribution garage, the green roof down here that we built about 5 years ago, would have to get torn down. That would be our new clear well. We have to move our high lift pumps that pump from here to Burdick Hill out to that new clear well. All said and done, we're over a $20 million project. So if we're looking at short chain or long chain PFAS, we want to make sure that we know what we're looking for, because we don't want to spend $20 million plus on a project and then have it not do what we thought what we were expecting. So that's really what we've got to keep an eye on for that. When we've done non-detect or PFAS.
Yeah, mostly we're always either non-detect or detect limit of the instrument and the reporting limit. So
yeah.
So far so good.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen in the future because of these kind of problems. We're only focusing on a few of them right now, so that's our biggest challenge. Regulate the future, we have no idea.
Yeah.
And trying to plan ahead, because like you have a lot of room. What do you plan for? So those are some of the kind of challenges we face, especially with PFAS. There's just so many different compounds out there. Which ones are going to regulate? Who knows?
And if we, in 2 weeks at our commission meeting, decided we were moving ahead with this project, which it's not even on the table, but if we did, it would be about 5 years before we were actually online with that system. So it's great that we have this plan and we know what we would need to do. Funding is going to be an issue, and making sure that we have that time to make sure everything happens. So our sampling that Glenn and his team do, we'll be watching that, and those will kind of dictate where we go. The nice thing with that system, the GAC system, it would also help with algal bloom issues with cyanotoxins. So we do have a plan in place here now, which just kind of adjusts our treatment process. It slows things down. We do some valving out in the system to try to get contact time where we need it. But we do have a plan for that too. If we see bigger events or events that start affecting us, that'll also speed up that GAC system for us. So our crew, we're 20 people. responsible for water for about 30,000 people in our system. We've been really lucky. We've been able to keep most of our workforce here without losing them to the city or Cornell. We try not to steal each other's employees. It's kind of unwritten, and I don't think that we really have. You guys ventured out on a couple other systems away from us. Elmira, that was your one.
They implemented a pay raise, so that helps us out.
That'll help. That'll get you every time. So, but yeah, the people, they're the most important part of the equation here for us. Like I said, 20 people. We're not a 24/7 operation. We do shut down from 5 p.m. to 11 o'clock at night. Most of our water is produced from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Electrical rates are cheaper, so that helps us save a little money there. But in New York State, there's 9,000 systems. There's 5,400 certified drinking water operators, and only 1,476 wastewater operators. That's supplying water to over 9 million people in New York State. So when you look at that number, that 5,400, 3,800 are active, 1,600 are retired. So they still have their license, but they're not actually working. For us to hire somebody, get them trained, and then just licensed through New York State, it takes over a year to bring somebody in. And that's if you didn't have somebody that just walked out the door one day for whatever reason. If you can plan ahead and get somebody in, it's still a year. If somebody walks out the door and you got to start looking and searching, this is a major challenge. So we've been working really hard to figure out how we can best
water every day, and that is ours too. There's huge generation water professionals. The closer you grow seal, clear demand and comes last. Because when it comes to water, you don't just depend on it. You depend on people like you.
So yeah, we've working with the AWWA, they've created a one water workforce. So this is looking at how do we bring people into the industry, water, wastewater, public works, all of that. What we found when we started to list all of the different careers in waterworks, there's over 30 different job titles. So if we're just looking for an operator, that's one thing. But if we're looking for GIS or SCADA techs or electrical mechanical staff that can keep our systems running, everything has become more technical. The graphs with the pen that goes up and down when I started, or the paper naps, they're long gone. It's all on tablets. So we've been working really closely to develop that workforce. When we started looking at this, most everybody was out there doing something. It just wasn't really coordinated. We would go out to job fairs or career fairs, talk with students or people looking to change careers. They would be interested, but there's no clear step. So if you're interested in a job in water, you talk to me before this program, I would say, well, you got to go on civil service website and look for a job. Most of the water and wastewater public works is going to be civil service. Then you got to go online and look for what the requirements are for the particular water plant. You got to go to the New York State Department of Health website. Then once you find that, go over and see where the certification courses are offered. Then once you're done with that, you're going to have to try to find a system that has an opening right now. So we've lost everybody that was ever interested in water because it's way too complicated. So what we wanted to do is create a course for, you could go one place in New York. AWWA said, let's do this. They invested $150,000 into this initiative. Of the water system operators that are in part of the organization. That's what their dues went towards. Everybody agreed this is where we need to focus. So they started a career readiness course. So if water system providers or wastewater want to go out and talk to high schools, BOCES programs, community colleges, they can go out, do their talk, and then we can say, this is our career readiness course. It'll walk the interested party through all the different jobs. So if you get in and you say, well, I really like running equipment, I like working with my hands, it's going to lead you towards a distribution operator. If you like the technical side, it might take you towards GIS or IT side. So there's a lot of flexibility built in. It's an around 11-hour course. So if we get someone through that, they're actually interested in water or wastewater. From that point, we're able to have them work with regional reps to kind of get them interested. Come to a tour at Bolton Point if you're in our area. If you're in Syracuse, go to Aqua. We'll set that up for you. So once we get them hooked, we're trying to keep them in as long as we can until there's jobs opportunities or they graduate from high school or college. So that's kind of the plan behind that. This is just kind of a quick run through. Yeah, so there's been a lot of work on that. We've worked on a pilot program with TST BOCES here in Ithaca and TC3 with their PTech programs. That's going really well. The Champions of Water, that's once the initiative's off the ground, we're just going to need other water systems to jump on board to make sure this continues to grow. And New York AWWA is also working with the training side. So every operator in New York State, depending on which level of license, will need 15 to 30 recertification contact hours. So they have to go to training. So also working to make sure those are available to once everybody gets certified, we still have courses. Last year, and I think for the last 2 years, we've offered trainings for over 120 operators just here at Bolton Point. We often do 3 or 4. That's actually how I got involved with AWWA, was on the training side, but it's worked really well. One project that's going to kick off late fall, early spring with TSD BOCES as we worked with waterworks suppliers, and they're actually going to have the students build a small water system. So they're going to put pipe in the ground, put a valve in, a hydrant, a service line. Then they're going to put sewer lines, laterals across. We'll try to put a service line or 2 in so that the students can do that. We'll then go out and do the mapping side with them so they can see how we actually maintain the system. If we want to do a water main break, once all the mapping's done, they'll bury the system and have it there. Now, if a student wants to go out and learn to run an excavator, they can go out and just dig a hole, or they can go out and dig around the pipe in the service line and see what the challenges are. So if they're looking for a job at Public Works, they can say, I spent the last 2 years at BOCES digging around pipe, so I know exactly what you guys are doing. Looking for that kind of work with them. If we want to work on a valve or simulate a water main break, we can have them dig it, and we can kind of work with them on all the locating. So just kind of doing some really neat things like that to try to get people interested in what we actually do. It's been a challenge. and I'm guilty of this, in my 25 years in the waterworks industry. My theory was if they don't know about us, we're doing a great job. So I want everybody to just turn the faucet on, take that drink of water, and not worry about Steve, Glenn, did they have a good day today or a bad day? If you don't hear about us, we're good. That's true, but it doesn't help us in a situation like this because nobody knows what we do. So how do we get people interested in the careers? That's kind of what we're facing right now. The other thing we realized was, we'll take TSD BOCES for example. They have a whole program on automotive repair, which is mostly computerized. You're trying to troubleshoot electrical components on most cars anymore. We do that every day. But their course is focused so much on automobiles that students don't understand that we have to do that in the waterworks side. So now we're trying to get in and say, you don't have to work on a rusty car. You can come inside, you can work in our pump stations and do the same kind of work. So just trying to get students to understand the different jobs that we have and the different skill sets that are needed, and then use those in a different way. So we did a summer internship this past year with one of our students from BOCES. She was great. I think our second day here, she came out of the heavy equipment training course at BOCES. Her second day, she was helping rebuild a pump. She jumped in and did most of the work. Our guys came back. I was not expecting this. I was expecting to get a lot of pushback from bringing a 16-year-old high school student in to do an internship. They came back on the second day and said, can we hire her? So that's exactly what we were hoping for. And I said, well, let's let her graduate high school before we offer her a job and see where this goes. So some other things we're doing, even heroes need heroes. Firemen can't do a whole lot without water. So we're trying to do some new initiatives there, just to get people to understand how things are going. And that's about all I got. So took us close to 4, Roxy.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Other than that, Glenn and I are here to answer questions for you guys. What do you guys want to know about us or water systems in general? Sure.
Have you developed a mentorship so that that person that you say hi to at that fair actually comes full circle and then is training the next person?
So the idea, once you create that, complete that training course, you will have a mentor assigned to you to help you walk through. We're also working, so trade shows, we now have events where if it's your first time attending, you can sign up and get a mentor so that we can kind of introduce you, kind of go around. The networking side of water and wastewater is incredibly important. We're all doing the same thing, but we're all doing it in different settings from across New York State. Glenn, I think you'll second that on me. If you have a question, you've got a pretty good list of names you can throw out there. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the biggest thing, it's tough because Roxy, I don't, how many openings a year do you have?
Last year's none. Yeah, we had a lot of turnover in the last 3 or 4 years, which means we have 3 or 4 new operators. That's a lot of turnover. And they're young, so there'll be nothing for a while.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It takes you a year to get your license, but it takes you many years in this business to actually be a good operator that understands everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the focus is definitely get them interested and then do everything we can to hang on them. Because we're not exactly sure when the opening are gonna be. But we really need people that are trained and able to come on board pretty quick. So if we can do things like this, and if, it might not be ideal for someone in TSD BOCES that's interested, might not have a job for him here today, but we might be able to get him into a small system, maybe in Trumansburg or Auburn is looking for something relatively close, to be able to kind of get people into different positions, to get them that year experience that they're going to need for their license, but also get them to kind of understand each system's different. Glenn, I don't think is going to be able to go over and run Roxy's plant tomorrow without some help, and Roxy's probably not going to come here. You might be able to. Well, because they're all so different, but just having those skills and that license to be able to get them on their own once they are able If we could shorten that up to 6 months because somebody had some experience, that'd be great. So definitely want to keep them in the loop.
Can I ask a question about the source water protection plan?
Yeah.
Other than Holden Point, to the best of your knowledge, do any other water purveyors on the lake have a source water protection plan?
I know Ulysses, was working on theirs, with New York Rural Water. I don't know, Trumansburg I lost track of, and I haven't heard of any at the north end of the lake.
Okay.
Cornell's,
Cor-
Coral Creek coming down.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
I didn't know if you just meant specific to like
Oh,
the
God,
lake,
from
like
the
in
lake.
that proximity here. Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Or really regionally.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I know that at some point there was money available, or actually they would just come in and help you do the source water protection plan. Is that still available, do you know?
I believe there's some.
Okay.
It's been, I know Roxy, you had a grant with we did not, so we funded that.
You did? Okay.
Yeah,
Rural water, whatever that, I can't remember what they're called. The state,
Circuit riders,
yeah,
been going on. I think that's who,
that's who Dryden had.
okay,
Rural water, something.
Yeah, New York Rural Water Association, they have had.
Yeah, what is it? What's it?
They're working.
What-
DCs you would request assistance, and then they look with a rural water, provider. But it's only for small systems, so that like,
Yeah.
this system's not eligible, since there's essentially population, but I think under 10,000 are probably eligible.
Okay.
For help with rural water.
All right, how tiny, what tiny are we talking?
I think less than 10,000 is population served.
Okay. And are there any, are they just for surface water, or are they also for,
Could be any regulated community water
Any
supply
water
as far as I
system.
know.
and are they, interested in any intermunicipal, say, two adjoining villages? One has a groundwater source, one has a surface water source. And I don't see either one of them have a source water protection plan. And
Well, New York Rural Water folk, I'd start with the DEC, let's say if they have the WWS stuff, and I think at least they used to have a link there where you could submit a request to get assistance.
once you've got this, source water protection plan, does it provide you with any sticks, or are you just doing carrots again? And
It's carrots. So
Okay.
the one thing that's better about it than the previous version is that to write it, but the whole development process, you have people from all through your watershed, all the stakeholders. So in 6 Mile Creek, we had 5 municipalities. We tried to have someone from each one there, selling water at the table. If you could, a business person, like someone from the 6 Mile Creek Winery or someone in ag. So they help write it. So the idea is that when you've approved it, these people representing these other entities have some level of buy-in already. So, I mean, it's still all voluntary, but no one's gonna be surprised when I start talking to the town of Caroline about some project we might want to do up there. So it does ease the path. And honestly, it's worked pretty good, better than I expected.
And if you have a tiny water system.
Well, Jan, I was just gonna say, what New York Rural Water Association did, they did town-wide ones for Dryden, Enfield, and Ulysses, right? Like they're a town-wide, so they look at all the community or public water system. So that might be how they would help. The tiny. Yeah, but they might look at it town-wide or, village and town divide and like that.
Right.
Right, and I think that Dave is how the Dryden one is, and it looks at all the water, sources.
Okay,
But except for.
and then it hits the basis, like to say, my source water protection plan said that, we should be doing this. And then you can use that
Yeah.
to get points for grant application.
Yeah, there's state recognized watershed plans. So yes, they give you points on your grant applications.
And how do they, and then I'll stop. And how do they have, sometimes liken myself to that bad kid in fifth grade. How do they anticipate that the entire lake watershed will get pieced together? Do they have a vision for that or, okay.
Steve is the one thinking about that mostly, I think.
I don't, even in the like new bills that have been presented.
Yep.
That was one of, with Senator May, that was one of my questions. I was like, so am I, as the general manager at Bolton Point, with this bill, does that mean that I now have to coordinate this entire effort? Because I got the job here that I'm trying to do to keep everything running. That's a pretty big lift for a 20-person organization to work with, what, 6 counties, 40 municipalities. Yeah, that's a big item for us. And they said, well, it's not mandatory in this bill. And I said, that's great, but I know most of you, if we can create watershed rules and regs, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be at a lot of our meetings saying we need to do this. And I'm not disagreeing. It's just how do we do that? That's
Right.
a state level question for my standpoint. But I think we would need some support from organizations like you to say, yeah, the 20 people at Bolton Point can't coordinate this entire thing and do everything else they're doing. We'd have to come up with a way that we as the water purveyor could still do that, but how it coordinates with everybody else in the watershed. We would definitely need some state assistance for that.
And the more municipalities that, or the more water purveyors that go about doing source water protection plan that could help feed into a watershed rules and regulations for the lake, if it were to ever happen.
Yeah, I think that would be a good starting point, would be the source water protection plans to move forward. Yeah. Yeah, Cynthia?
So, if there was a deep plume and it actually got into your intake, what are the systems that would need to be put into place to treat that water? How effectively and efficiently would that happen? What would that mean for your plan if that were to happen?
You got this one?
Yeah. Well, the easiest answer is we have enough water in our system. We'll shut the plant down and see if we can wait it out. That's easiest, but chances are, assuming it's summer, we haven't, probably not gonna have that option because of irrigation and everything else going on, we're gonna need more water. So basically what we have to do is we have a plan now, we can modify the treatment processes we have in place now, is how we operate them. Biggest thing is we feed chlorine dioxide out of our intake for zebra mussel control as a pre-accident. We have to shut that off because now you don't want to hit those cells with the chlorine dioxide, split them open and release the toxins. Now you got a bigger problem. So we have to shut that off, which creates more problems down the road because now I haven't had a disinfectant in contact with my water long enough to put it out the door to the first customer. Actually, technically, we're the first customer. So we have to make modifications with that. We got to change how much chlorine we put at the end of the process. So we can technically go on bottled water here, change the valve around so people right outside the door here aren't getting the water right from the plant, but getting from other places. And the other thing is just operationally is we run as slow as we can. You want to try to settle the bulk without the gravity so you can get rid of it before you release your filters. So we have that in place. How effective is it going to be? Hard to say because how much you bring in, what's the density of flow, what's the toxin level, that type of thing. So we haven't had to use it yet. So I don't have any real world data on saying how well it's going to work. So that's why that's kind of just a stopgap plan for now because we haven't really seen anything. So we're not going to spend 20 grand to put something in place. But if we start seeing stuff in our intake on a regular basis, then we'd have to go to something more robust like the GAC system. But, for now, I think it would work. We'd definitely be testing the water leaving here to see if the toxins got through the plant or not. So that's also another big part of it. So yeah, it's, we have a plan in place in case it does happen. Luckily, it hasn't happened. Sea meadow shoreline, but we're about 350, 400 feet out, 65 feet deep. Had one early in the summer. It was somebody, got a hold of the Community Science Institute. So they were over our intake, so over our intake. Looked at the water here under the microscope for hours and hours after that. Nothing came into the plant, so they on the surface. So yeah, we haven't really had to implement a plan yet, but do have it ready to go. If things become more and more, prevalent, that's getting into anything, then we gotta go something.
You have the carbon filters?
That's the granulated carbon we have to add. Right now, we just have traditional gravity filters that have anthracite coal and sand in them. So they're not as effective as grabbing a lot of this stuff as, granulated. That's kind of the technology we probably go to. Yeah, treat for half. Or PFAS if it depends on what you.
So just as a carry on, my initial question, so if there was a deep lake bloom that went a week, that's something that you could handle, but if it went longer, then that might cause additional problems. So is there a tipping point where you're like, okay, we don't have capacity to deal with that, and then when does that hit?
Luckily, we're pretty lucky. We shut down from 5 o'clock at night to 11 o'clock. So I can actually run 24/7. So I'm throwing water in, at a slower rate. So we run the plant as slow as we can. That's the biggest challenge we have. How fast can we run the plant before we start getting breakthrough? That I don't know until it happens. So you really, it's without ever having it come to the plant, it's really hard to say.
One thing that we did do with this plan was rather than use a local engineering firm with not a lot of experience, we used Arcadis Engineering, who was doing at the time a lot of work on the Great Lakes around Ohio. So when they had those huge green blooms, so they were using that data from their experience there to help us figure out what we could do because we haven't had that experience here. So that's why we used a large firm like that to try to help us figure out what we needed.
Do you know which way your water comes in? Does it, come along the bottom and in, does it come down the top and in?
I'd probably say all of the above, depending on temperature gradients in the water and stuff like that. Honestly, to tell you the truth, we have no data on that. Our intakes are two structures, cylindrical. They have a shroud around them. And then there's an inside screen that goes around that. So you're not just pulling the end of the pipe. So it is kind of more of a control draw, but how the actual, where it comes from in the lake, I really don't have any data on that whatsoever.
And also the pumps are on the shoreline in the white block building.
Mhm.
Underneath the pumps is another clear well. So you've got a 20-inch diameter pipe that goes out 350, 400 feet. But then that level of our clear well is the same as the lake level. So you're actually drawing from that volume inside under the building. So it's not a direct pipe connected to a pump. So you get a little bit more volume. So we don't have that kind of draw pulling water in.
I will tell you one thing though, when you get a max counter event, it's about 3 days after all the runoff when we start seeing it intake. So we are located in a good spot based on creeks and water plants. So yeah, we're lucky. We have plenty of cushion before we see anything from the storm event. You guys probably minutes. We have days.
So you can fill everything up and wait. You can fill everything up and wait it out and get rid of some of that sediment before it hits you.
If we had a real bad rain event, probably would do that. Just to be a little heavier out in our system with water. That way, if we do have to shut down or anything else, we get more flexible.
Those early spring runoff events, we can just drive down the hill and see how close it's coming up towards us. So you see that brown to blue line, we know where we're at.
In my 10 years here now, I think I see one event that was like, oh, that's cool. It's more than just a little bit of dirty water, that we actually had some turbidity in the water, trees floating down. So, yeah, probably was one there.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
But that's, when we talk about operators, Roxy and the folks at the city plant, they're dealing with that every day and that adjustment with every storm. And like Glenn said, we've got time to wait, react, and usually stuff is gonna settle out before it even gets to us. So our operators and our treatment process, we don't make a lot of changes. Where you guys are, depending on what's coming into your reservoir, you're having to make changes. So those are.
And then what's it look like when you get a big storm? Emma's an operator at the water plant there.
We usually get about 2 hours notice. That's how long it takes from our water at the reservoir to get to the plant, and we have monitoring equipment there. So if we're paying attention, you have 2 hours notice. You can kind of change your dosage, brace for it. I've seen upwards of 700 NTUs for turbidity, whereas I think you guys are usually below a 1.
Here's some of the time we're below 1 or even below 0.5.
And that's usually
But-
where clean water
Yeah,
is.
the most, and the most I've ever seen over there was that one rain event, I think.
Yeah, that's bad.
Which is funny, no one ever seen anything like that, but where I came from, Erie County, Watford, we had that all the time, like Erie, it's not all the time. So it wasn't, it's just, it's just.
Yeah, we know how to handle it
Yeah,
now.
that's all.
I don't know
It's
what it
a
stands for.
nephelometric turbidity unit. It's light scatter around the particles. You're welcome.
We do the monitoring in the first basin you're gonna come to, you're gonna see the mixing wheels in there. You're gonna look at the water and say, that looks really clear. And as you go farther in that basin, we have a floodlight that shines down into the water, and you'll actually see all those small particles. So the water you're talking about, you wouldn't even see the mixing paddles.
Right.
Chocolate milk water.
Yeah.
So we might want to go to that now, so
Yeah.
get plenty of time to get through the tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody. Those were great questions. We're here all the time. So we love talking water. So anytime you guys are welcome here. So just stop in, grab us. Happy to show you around. So.
Well, we'll follow these guys. Oh yeah, go ahead, come out. We'll follow these guys, grab a snack.